Don't make the questions too hard, okay?
Oh,
Keep them simple.
I got you. Let's go back. 20 years.
Way back. You're sure it's not 5 years ago?
Yeah, I know, right?
It's 20?
The bridge was a thought of the Chapel Springs Church, basically. They are the ones who wanted to plant a church. My husband heard of it, and so he came to me and presented the idea about wanting to put his name in the hat so he could maybe become the pastor.
Looked through into the sanctuary, into the window, and I saw Pastor Mark Smith up front, and he had a little circle on Warrenton, Virginia.
And they wanted 100 people to go to help start the church. So we prayed about it. We said, yeah, let's do that, because we were kind of halfway in between anyway.
We discussed kind of what his vision was, and we caught the vision ourselves.
It was going to totally change our life, but I decided I'd go along with it and see how it panned out.
And here it is, panning out.
Here it is, panning out far beyond what we would have, envisioned.
We remember going down front of Manassas Assembly of God with these other people thinking, this is great. We're in, yeah. It was great.
Yeah. And that's when the work began.
The goal was to start off with 100 people and $100,000 to give us a really good start. So we started at Highland School, meeting there.
And to open a brand new church in a state-of-the-art facility in their theater was just unheard of, So we knew that God's favor was on that.
Before we ever had our first service, the church was started bathed in prayer.
This church was bathed in prayer.
I mean, the whole group was dedicated to prayer because when we had nothing, we had no place to meet, we had nothing. I mean, nothing. Yeah.
Walk me through those weeks leading up to the launch, because the launch was Easter, right?
Right. All of the above. Exciting, because it was like going on a mission field, definitely. Because here you were planning a church, but then also you'd wonder if anybody would show up for the church service.
I played guitar, but I didn't know how to play. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna step out of my box. And I remember Robin, we both were like scared to death the first time up there, because she's not sure which chords to play. And I'm like, I can't get my strumming down.
Definitely to do that was out of my comfort zone, but we did, and God blessed it, and it was amazing.
Mark asked us if we would help with children's ministry.
Because we'd always done children's ministry.
And that's what we came, from Manassas Assembly, doing children. So it's like, sure, we'll help you.
Yeah, that's how Bridge Kids started. Pastor Mark wanted a name for the kids because at Manassas, it was called the Super Kids. So he didn't want to call them that. What can we call them? And nobody could think of a name. And I said, let's call them the Bridge Kids. And he's like, no, it sounds like we're homeless and living under a bridge somewhere. And so we didn't think of a better name. So he said, well, we'll use that for the time being. And here we are 20 years later. Maybe it's time to name the Bridge Kids. Everything used in a classroom, everything used for the greeters, the ushers, everything that you touch in the church was a van in the parking lot. And a couple guys showed up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning and started setting up.
Set up and tear down.
Every week.
So it took a lot of time and a lot of commitment. And we looked forward to the day that we would have our own church and we wouldn't have to set up anymore, and all the boxes coming in and coming out.
But he knew the Lord wanted us on a main thoroughfare. And he said that's what the Lord had told him, that he said, I just believe God's going to put us on a place that has high traffic.
Finding this beautiful property was
incredible.
It was a work. It was hard work. It was very hard work over a number of years.
We would cold write letters to landowners. Just look at the tax maps. There's a piece might work, and just write a cold letter. Hey, we're starting a church. What about your property? And months this went on. Months. Yeah. And until this happened here. you know. And so, you know, his vision was correct. He was going to be on a thoroughfare that was used by a lot of people. And so many people I talk to today, I say, how'd you find the bridge? They say, I commute on this route and I saw the church being built, and so I just came to check it out.
Then, you know, starting our building campaign is when, you know, I mean, we were that night, we're scheduled to meet for our capital campaign, and we got the word that Pastor Mark had died.
Yeah, it was hard.
He wasn't a person who was sick or anything. It was just a sudden stroke that he never recovered from.
To say it was a devastating moment is an understatement.
And I journaled when Pastor Mark had his stroke and what I was feeling, and, you know, Lord, why is this happening to us?
Things were looking up. We're going to get this church started in Warrenton, and now we don't have a leader.
And so the church, though, went on, you know, and continued to pursue that, which I'm very grateful. You know, they didn't, because he was gone, they still took the lead and continued to do the capital campaign and to raise the money for the building.
We decided pretty quickly that we were coming to church and we were going to continue to support this church.
Probably the amazing part is none of us thought, okay, you know, it's time to disband.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely not a thought.
And because Pastor Mark had always made it known that, you know, this wasn't his church.
Right.
And my husband would have been the first to say that it wasn't about it. It was never about him.
Because it wasn't about a person, it was about God. And, I mean, we went on. I mean,
He went 100% into whatever he did. Yeah, it was like all in.
He was all in, so to speak, and he was a great father to our children, and the kids adored their dad.
He was just special. He was special. Him and Robin both were just made incredible sacrifice to come here and do this, and we love him for it.
I think not a lot of people in your position would find themselves still at the same church that their husband had founded.
I personally felt like that's what God would have me to do, just to stay, to be supportive, and to hold up whosever hands are here. I didn't necessarily need to be seen or known as someone, but I felt just by staying, that could be a positive thing. That was something I could do to help, and so I did. And then, of course, the Hacketts were very generous and, you know, open to me, and so that helped in my healing too, so.
We can't say enough about Pastor Greg and Lisa. I mean, he's been what the Lord wanted here. I mean, obviously, when God arranges the pieces, it works.
I so appreciate Pastor Greg and Pastor Lisa and all the pastors here. They've meant a lot to me and our family.
What do you think of what the bridge is now?
It's amazing, and it's humbling and, you know, encouraging.
Looking back, I'm not sure, I'll say it again, I'm not sure I could have conceived all that the church has become and the impact that the church has had on the community. Probably would have been overwhelming had we known that at the time anyway.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The church has grown, and people have been ministered to, and I know our lives are impacted forever, because of the bridge.
The Bible study I'm in, it's in the book of Numbers, where the end of it, it's all about they look back to where they've come from, the different places they were in the wilderness, and how important that is just to look back to see where God has brought you from.
I just want to say am I allowed to say happy anniversary? Yeah. Happy anniversary.
God's hand in the whole thing. You just look back and you go, wow.
Yeah.
What a huge plan.